Superheroes often travel great lengths, endure the harshest conditions, and conquer the unconquerable. Yep, it can seem like the stuff of fantasy, but in reality, superheroes are around us every day. And if you have any doubt, you clearly have never met my pal, Ed Viesturs. Ed's climbed to the very top of the world. I mean the very top of the world many, many times. But more importantly, he's returned to tell the tale. He's lived the type of stories that most of us, well, we've only dreamed about. It's not the type of storytelling I'm used to, but a good story, it's worth a little adventure.
No, come back here.
I'm Joe Quesada. I tell stories for a living. Welcome to Marvel's Storyboards. Sun Valley, Idaho, a peaceful town surrounded by daunting peaks. It's no wonder Ed calls this place home. Ed is one of the world's most elite and legendary mountain climbers. In fact, he's the only American to have climbed all 14 of the world's tallest peaks. But that's just where his story begins. As a master storyteller, Ed travels the world, regaling audiences with tales of his superheroic feats.
Climbing has to be a round trip.
But today, Ed's invited me into his home so we can prepare for a day on the mountain.
Ed, how are you, sir?
Joe.
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're
legendary welcome. Ed Viesturs. So we're gonna have some fun today, right?
Yeah, we're gonna go for a little hike. We had some snow last night.
Right.
It's nice and cold.
We're in your garage. In the world of Marvel, when I hear the garage, I think of Tony Stark, right? The great scientist, the guy who's Iron Man, and he's got his suits everywhere. So this is kind of like your hall of armor, wouldn't it be?
Yeah, this is all expedition gear, old
Right.
gear, new gear.
I don't hike. I don't like the cold.
Right.
I'm from New York. What would I need?
I thought we would start with a down suit. Blue might be nice for you. Get your right foot right there. There you go, easy. And pop that on.
This is like a spacesuit.
That looks perfect.
Yeah. Thank you.
You just kind of dig in as you're climbing.
So they're kind of like claws, like
They're kind of like claws.
for the
yeah.
comic fans out there, very similar
Yeah.
to Wolverine's claws.
This is like our basic tool, which we never leave without.
This is the legendary ice axe.
Yeah.
So this is what I need to do our hike today, or?
Well, I think it's a little overkill. I don't think you need all that.
I see photos of you on those ridges, and I get queasy.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine like myself just being up there and like not just like going,
Yeah.
and passing out. How do you prepare your body? Because I mean, a lot of stuff happens up there. I mean, your body goes through a lot, basically breaks down, doesn't it?
Absolutely. The higher you go, your body actually starts deteriorating. And most people that climb Everest use oxygen. By removing the mask, I'm actually experiencing it. My
Yeah.
face is in the moment. But you can imagine the higher you go, by the time we put Camp 4 in, it's at 26,000 feet.
Yeah.
We've lost 15 or 20 pounds. The majority, in my opinion, of the risk is the decision making.
In my stories, it's easy to go back and fix mistakes. But in Ed's, there is zero room for error.
So Ed, where are we going?
We're gonna try to climb up Griffin's Butte.
Really?
Yeah, why not? It's about 8,700 feet. Let's go have a little workout. Okay, so this is the approach, and now we're gonna start gaining some altitude.
You have this knack, like a lot of the great mountaineers do, sort of reading the mountain.
Well, I call it listening to the mountain. What are those clouds over there gonna do in a few hours? Is a storm brewing? Is the snow stable enough?
When you start at base camp, is there excitement, trepidation, and what happens on the stages up?
At base camp, you're miles and miles and days and thousands of feet from the summit. So you have to, it becomes overwhelming if you think, how am I gonna get all the way there? So
Yeah.
you gotta break it down into days, into steps, into minutes, into breaths, because you're going to 29,000 feet.
It's absolutely superhuman to imagine that stuff. So can we go a little further?
Yeah, let's go.
Let's see what we can do.
Going to the top.
I can see it.
Yeah.
See that?
You're you name it Mount Quesada?
That's a little too self-aggrandizing for me, Ed. No, come back here. Woo! Hey, it's the summit.
Well,
Yeah, I'm not doing that. No. Why aren't you out of breath? All right, Ed, I'm gonna let you guide me back down.
okay.
If you hear a scream, jump out of the way, because it means I'm heading down in a much more rapid fashion. One of my favorite characters at Marvel is a character called Daredevil, and Daredevil is known as the man without fear. Listening to your adventures, it seems like you are a man without fear. If there's anything scary,
Yeah, I don't think I'm fearless.
Yeah.
Being fearless means you just keep going and going and going in spite of the consequences. Avalanches scare the hell out of me.
Yeah.
Storms. There's all these things that we can't control up there. So I think fear is good. I don't want to say I'm Daredevil. There's fear that keeps you alive.
so what's your origin story?
You know, I grew up in Illinois, but I loved adventure. When I was a little kid, we had a creek out our back door, and I pretended to go on expeditions. And the one book that I read that basically changed my life was Annapurna. 1950, the story of the French team that go to Annapurna, and 3 months into it, 2 of them get to the summit. You know, and to me that was like, wow, everybody's working together, but only 2 people go to the summit. And that was my vision of how an expedition operates as a team. Because of that story, I was inspired to say, that's what I want to do.
So you had a distinct inciting incident in your story, but it wasn't the first peak you conquered in the Himalayas. Even then, your mindset is, I want to go to Everest.
My first expedition to the Himalayas.
And did you succeed on that one?
We turned around 300 feet from the summit.
I can't. So explain that to me exactly.
Yeah, that's still 2 hours of climbing. The storm was developing, and so we listened to the mountain, and that was the end of the trip.
I find that story so amazing that you could see it.
Yeah,
Can't touch it.
you have to think long term versus short term.
You've had some amazing adventures, but I mean, I know that there was one tragic moment in particular, right, which is in '96 on Everest, right?
Yeah, well, we were there doing the IMAX film. I was there with David Viesturs, who was a climber, became filmmaker, so he was directing and filming, and I was the leader of our particular expedition. So wherever we went, the camera crew, David and his partner, filmed whatever we did. And there at the same time were my 2 good friends, Rob Hall of New Zealand, leading his clients, and my good friend Scott Fisher leading his clients. And on a day that we kind of opted not to go to the summit, they decided to go, and instead of turning around when certain time constraints were hit or when oxygen was running low, they kind of kept going to the summit. And on a good day, I believe they would have gotten away with it, but a big storm slammed into the summit that day, and they were caught off guard, and 8 people died. These were good friends of ours, and we were helpless in saving them. So it was a huge emotional moment for everybody. You know, you become a community on the mountain, and these were 2 of my best friends.
Annapurna, that was like your great white whale, wasn't it?
If you're climbing all 14 8,000 meter peaks, Annapurna is on the list. During my career, I'd already attempted Annapurna twice. And both of those times, my partners and I, we just walked away because of the danger, avalanches and uncontrolled risk. And in the end, I then climbed 13, and Annapurna then happened to be still
The last one.
I almost convinced myself not to go back. And ultimately, I decided that I would. We would sit at the bottom and listen to the mountain. It would tell us.
Yeah.
And if conditions were just as bad as they were the first 2 times, I promised everybody we'd go home. And it was colder that year, the mountain was glued together, and it was almost like, we're here at the right time.
Yeah.
We're gonna go. This is our moment. But I tempered my joy when we were on the summit. It's not over until we're down. And once we got down, all the way to base camp 2 days later, our friends were waiting for us. They had beer. Now I'm done.
Yeah.
And it was one of the highlights of my life to have done something that took 18 years.
Was that your final 8,000 climb, or did you?
I thought it might be, but then 4 years after that, I went back to Everest.
Just for the heck of it.
I thought at that time, this will be my last trip, and now I can say goodbye to Everest. And I could savor every moment and then walk away.
What do you love about storytelling? And is there a better metaphor than climbing a mountain?
I think mountains are an amazing metaphor. I've discovered that people that hear me, they come up to me and they go, I listened to you, I saw your story, you've changed my life, you've changed my ideas about what's possible. And that's what I get out of it, inspiring people with my stories. We all have our own Annapurna. And an Annapurna, it can be a goal, a physical disability, a challenge that you choose, or something that you're confronted with, and that becomes your Annapurna, right? And how do you climb to the top of that? And I hope that's inspirational to people.
I want to thank you for your generosity, and I'll see you on the hill. Maybe,
Yeah.
Maybe tomorrow. I'll be
Okay.
out there again.
While spending the day with Ed is absolutely the closest I'll ever get to Everest, my takeaway was almost as valuable. Ed reminded me that the very best stories inspire us to go out and make our own, so we can inspire others to climb their own mountains.